Hi everyone, this is Mr. Henley. I'm back for part 4 of my Act 1 Romeo and Juliet recap. Again, this process is taking a lot longer than I wanted, but again, I'm translating all of Act 1 the best I can into modern English to help you understand. So where did we leave off? Juliet's nurse, the nurse and Juliet's mother, Lady Capulet, are having a debate about how Juliet is. There was some sexual comedy added by the nurse. The nurse shares how much she loves Juliet by saying if she could have one dying wish, it would be to see Juliet get married one day. So that shows how much the nurse truly cares about Juliet. She sees Juliet like a daughter. And Lady Capulet's like, well, that topic of marriage, that's why I'm here, Juliet. I want to talk to you about getting married to this guy named Paris. Remember, Paris asked Lord Capulet, Juliet's dad, already if he can marry Juliet. So the nurse says that Paris is a man of wax, meaning he's beautiful. Lady Capulet says he's a flower, meaning he's beautiful. Also keep in mind that Paris is the prince's cousin. He's part of the royal family. Here they're saying he's beautiful. And he's also rich. So if you could match your daughter with someone, he would probably be a really good candidate. He'd be really high up there. So Juliet is now being kind of pressed by her mother why she should marry this guy Paris. Why should she say yes? So Juliet's mom, Lady Capulet, says, "What say you? Can you love the gentleman? This night you shall behold him at our feast, read over the volume of young Paris's face, and find delight writ there with beauty's pen. Examine every married lineament, and see how one another lends content. And what obscured in this fair volume lies, find written in the margin of his eyes. This precious book of love, this unbound lover, to beautify him only lacks a cover." So Juliet's mother is basically saying, this guy Paris is the perfect guy. If you could create the perfect character of a man to love in a book, Paris would be it. He's only lacking one thing. He's lacking a cover. And Juliet, you will be that beautiful cover that holds that book together. And if you marry Paris, you guys will have a fairy tale ending. You guys will live happily ever after. So it sounds like a really convincing argument. Juliet should marry this guy Paris. So let's see what her response is. Well, first, before we get Juliet's response, the nurse adds some more humor. Because Lady Capulet says, by having him, making yourself no less. And the nurse says, no less, nay, bigger. Women grow by men. So the nurse is adding more humor. Oh, women grow by men, meaning men get women pregnant and they make them get bigger. So Lady Capulet says, speak briefly. Can you like to Paris's love? Juliet, will you marry Paris? And here's her answer. I'll look to like, if looking liking move, but no more deep will I endart mine eye, than your consent gives strength to make it fly. Another example of a couplet, 2 consecutive lines that rhyme. So Juliet's like, you know what, Mom? You want me to look at him? Fine, I'll look at him, but I'm not going to love him. And then the servant shows up. Remember, that servant is the guy that delivered the guest list, and he basically says, Madam, the guests are come because he already invited all the guests with Romeo's help. He's saying supper is ready, so basically the party's ready to go. Again, Paris is going to be there. Paris is the guy that wants to marry Juliet. Romeo's going to be there. As you know, Romeo and Juliet eventually fall in love. He's going to be at the party, but keep in mind he's the enemy to the Capulet family, so we're kind of worried about him showing up at this party uninvited. He actually is invited by the servant, but the servant said, if you're not a Montague, you can come. He is a Montague, so he shouldn't come. He's not technically invited. All right. So moving forward, that's the end of Act 1, Scene 3. We're now on Act 1, Scene 4. So we got Romeo, Mercutio, Benvolio with 5 or 6 maskers. A masker is someone wearing a mask. Why are people wearing masks? Because apparently this party is going to be a masquerade, or at least the Montagues are attempting to make it a masquerade by wearing masks. What is a masquerade? A masquerade is a party where everyone wears masks. This was common during the time in which Romeo and Juliet was written. But why is it convenient for Romeo and Romeo and Benvolio to wear masks? Because they are Montagues. Remember, the servant that Romeo helped by reading the guest list said you could come to the party tonight, to the feast tonight, as long as you're not a Montague. Romeo is a Montague, Benvolio is a Montague. So their hope is by wearing masks, no one will recognize them. So here we go. We got Romeo talking to Benvolio, and they're basically talking about how Romeo's in love again with this girl Rosaline, but it's not going to work out because she wants to be a virgin for life. Benvolio wants Romeo to go to the party because there's going to be a bunch of other women. So let's see. Romeo is talking now to Mercutio. Mercutio is part of the royal family. He's also the prince's cousin, but he's also one of Romeo's best friends. So Mercutio asks Romeo, he says, "Nay, gentle Romeo, we must have you dance." But remember, Romeo's been depressed. He's been out of it because Rosaline doesn't love him. So Mercutio is like, "Let's go to this party and dance and have a good time." This is a pun. Romeo says, "Not I. Believe me, you have dancing shoes with nimble soles. I have a soul of lead." So a pun is a humorous play on words. So here's the pun. They're talking about dancing. Romeo has dancing shoes. Most of the men that are going to this party tonight will have nimble soles. Soles, S-O-L-E-S. That means like the bottom of your shoe, a shoe sole. Romeo says, "I have a soul of lead." Soul, S-O-U-L. That means like what's in your heart, your soul. So this is a pun because Romeo says that you guys all want to dance because you have nimble souls. Nimble means like dexterous. You can move around really well, move around with ease. And again, he's talking about soles, the bottom of your foot, but Romeo's talking about his heart. And Romeo's soul is made of lead at this moment. Lead is something very heavy. If you were to put it in water, it would sink, right? So Romeo's saying, my heart is feeling really heavy. Why is his heart feeling heavy like lead? Why is his soul feeling that way? Again, because Rosaline, the girl he thinks he loves, does not love him back. Again, I already mentioned, I think it's not really love, it's more of infatuation. Romeo's infatuated with Rosaline's beauty. He doesn't really know her, so he can't possibly love her. Alright, moving forward. Let's see. Video's loading. Alright, I think we're back. Alright. I apologize for the little delay. Here we go. Alright. So, Romeo and Mercutio continue to kind of argue in a sense about love. Romeo says, "I am too sore and pierced with his shaft," talking about Cupid's arrow, "to soar with his light feathers, and so bound. I cannot bound a pitch above dull woe." Woe means extreme sadness. So Mercutio's like, "Why don't you just get shot by Cupid's arrow? We'll find someone to love you. They'll love you back, unlike Rosaline." Romeo's like, "I'm too sad to do anything." He's just really depressed because Rosaline doesn't love him back. Alright. Romeo goes on. They're talking about love still. Mercutio just said that love is a tender thing. Romeo says, "Is love a tender thing? It is too rough, too rude, too boisterous, and it pricks like a thorn." So this is basically what you would call simile. You compare two unlike things using like, as, and, or resembles. So Romeo is comparing love to a rose. Why does he compare love to a rose? Because he's saying that a rose can prick you like a thorn. A rose is beautiful, so yes, a rose or love can be beautiful, but it could also hurt you just like a rose could prick you with a thorn. Mercutio is kind of the male version of the nurse. He adds sexual comedy and humor. So Mercutio says, "If love be rough with you, be rough with love. Prick love for pricking and beat love down." So I'm not going to explain exactly what that means, but the word prick is significant because it's talking about part of the male anatomy. So Mercutio's like, you know what, if you're having a hard time with love, you need to go prick something. I'll let you figure out what he means by that. Again, it's supposed to add sexual humor. Mercutio, again, does that constantly throughout the play, just like the nurse does. Alright, moving forward. let's see. They're continuing to talk. I can skip this stuff. It's not really that important. Let's see. Mercutio and Romeo continuing to talk. Alright. Now I feel like I could focus on something that's important. So Romeo says, I dreamt a dream tonight. So apparently before going to this party, Romeo had a dream. And Mercutio's like, well, I had a dream too, and so did I. And Romeo's like, well, what was your dream? And Mercutio said that dreamers often lie. Romeo's response, in bed asleep while they do dream things true. So Mercutio says, Romeo, you had a dream, who cares? Dreams are lies, meaning your dreams do not really come true. I'm sure most of you guys have had many dreams in your life, and they hardly ever come true. I'm not talking about a dream like a goal in life. I'm talking about a dream like what you have when you're sleeping. Romeo's kind of witty and smart, so instead of saying that dreamers often lie, like telling lies, not the truth, Romeo's like, yeah, you're right, dreamers do lie in bed asleep. Again, kind of pun, in a sense, playing around with this word lie. So Mercutio's trying to prove a point, and he's like the nurse in the way that he could go on and on and on and talk and talk and talk until people basically go crazy and tell him to shut up. So Mercutio has this long monologue where he talks about this fairy Queen Mab. This is all make-believe, made-up stuff. Queen Mab doesn't really exist, but Mercutio's like, oh, you think dreams are real? Okay, I'll tell you about this dream I had. So Mercutio comes up with this extravagant, non-realistic dream to prove to Romeo that dreams are lies. So Queen Mab, according to Mercutio, is this fairy. She's no bigger than a little tiny pebble. She apparently has a little team of atoms as her horses. So just think of little atoms like you learn about in, I don't know, maybe biology class. Little tiny things are her horses. She has wagon spokes made out of spiders' legs. The cover of her little carriage is made out of the wings of grasshoppers. To whip the little atoms or horses, they use spider webs. The spider webs connect the little atoms or horses. There's a little cricket. Queen Mab is carrying a cricket's bone, or like the leg of a cricket, and that's her whip. So she whips these little atoms with this cricket's leg to make them go faster and faster. So again, it's creating this really unrealistic, completely fantasy-like dream to prove that dreams are not real. And he goes on and on and on about that, about how there's this little gnat that sits in the front seat wearing a little gray coat, and he kind of helps direct the wagon, and he goes on and on and on. Not really too important. Again, it gets into more sexual humor, in a sense, and inappropriate in nature, by Mercutio saying that Queen Mab flies over ladies' lips who straight on kisses dream, which often the angry Mab with blisters plays. So apparently Queen Mab leaves blisters on women's lips. That might be talking about herpes. So again, Mercutio is just trying to show that dreams aren't real. Talks about Queen Mab gives men nightmares. Basically, they'll go over someone's nose. Here we go. So Queen Mab gives people nightmares, or soldiers nightmares, by them thinking or dreaming about cutting people's throats and having those nightmares of doing those things in war. Queen Mab basically tangles girls' hair. So women that have long hair, sometimes their hair gets tangled in the middle of the night. That's because of Queen Mab. Why does she do that? Apparently because you are being sluttish. Again, this is complete make-believe to show that dreams are not real. Queen Mab also teaches women to bear children by making them good women of courage. She makes them lie on their backs. So Queen Mab basically teaches women how to have sex, how to get pregnant. Again, complete make-believe stuff. Alright, that'll be the end of this video.